D18 1937 authentic 2022 year model. And this is a guitar that I shaved the neck on. I thought maybe we should catch up with it and check up on it again. So since I shaved the neck, when I first commented on it, I said, well, I had a little bit of a flat spot on the back of the neck, and I could also feel some of the facets of where I cut the neck. Because if you watch the video when I shaved it, I'm cutting in angles like this, and then I merge all the angles together. So as I played the guitar a little bit more, I thought, I can just, I think I can do a little bit better on this. And I said in that video that I probably might go back and touch up a few things after I'd played it a little bit. Well, I did that. And I went back and I smoothed off the section right here, up in the middle of the upper neck here. It just had a little bit of a funny feel to it. It didn't bother me too much, but I thought, if I ever sell the guitar or somebody looks at it, I think I can do a little bit better. And so I did. I went back in and touched up the shaving a little bit. I flattened the V here. So the V was like this angle, and I went ahead and flattened it down just a little bit this way. Let me try to show you that on camera here. It maybe was a little too steep, just a hair, and I brought it down just a little bit more so that the V right here is a little bit flatter rather than sticking up like this. So when you're playing it, you feel that. Let me see if I can illustrate that. Yeah, I can't. A very subtle thing. I mean, I took off, microscopic shavings, really. Then I smoothed it out a little bit more with sandpaper, and I just smoothed this upper section right here just a little bit. So in the process of doing that, I took the finish off of it, and I had to restain it and refinish it. But that was okay. I think it merged pretty good. I mean, you can see, a few color variations here. Hard to get this in the light. This is what it looks like. There you go. That's not too bad. You can see that. And you can see a little bit of color variation going on up here, especially a little bit of a dark spot. But, that's okay. That just shows you the character of the wood. The main thing is this neck does not look funny, Like I said before, a lot of times when people do speed neck, this is a completely different color than the rest of the neck. And I think it merges in pretty good. I think, really you would not obviously notice that. You would look at it, if you had it in your hand, you would, but it looks good, It still looks like the finish of the neck. All right, so after playing around with some finishes and things, the first thing I did was a shellac finish using the denatured alcohol. And then I put, because you can, I went ahead and put an oil finish over the top of that to see how I like that. And what I found out about that is the shellac will dry almost instantly. I mean, you can put shellac on here and you can be playing the thing in 10 minutes. The oil takes 4 to 6 hours. I mean, it takes several hours. And you have to put a very thin coat, and you got to let it dry for many hours, and then you go put another thin coat. And it's just, I didn't have the patience to do it. And I didn't think it felt all that good. To me, the shellac just felt better. So when I redid this part of the neck up in here, I used shellac on it. And it's funny because the first time I did it in 2 steps, the first coat I put on, I thought, well, it's kind of milky looking. And then I realized that I was working with the Everclear diluted shellac, which I had brought in from outside and set on the bench. And so that actually was moisture content that was built up on the top of the lid, because someone commented on the Everclear, and I did not know this, but Everclear comes in a variety of proofs, and I thought Everclear was just Everclear, and it's all 190 proof, and it's 90% alcohol. It's not. It comes in 3 different grades, and evidently the pure stuff is not available in some places. Well, I didn't know, I've only bought Everclear twice in my entire life, and one of the time was a big bottle and I can't remember what happened to that. Whatever, but this one was just a tiny little bottle. When I was doing the finishes, I commented on this is 75% pure, so the rest of it's water, and that might be a little bit too much water for shellac. So, point is, I accidentally used the Everclear shellac on here for one coat, and it did okay. So you could use 75% alcohol Everclear. It didn't go on any different, so I didn't really see an advantage, because that was part of the thing that I was playing with here. Is does Everclear shellac work differently or better or worse than denatured alcohol shellac? So after I did the first coat by mistake, and I was looking at the little bottle, I go, well, that's E for Everclear. And then I found the denatured alcohol back on the shelf where I'd put it in a dark, cool place. So when I did the second coat on here, I used the denatured alcohol. On the whole, I think I like the denatured alcohol better. I thought it dried faster, and it was a little less sticky as it was going on. So when you do the shellac, you're going to use a little bit of a drying oil anyways. I thought I had to use the drying oil a little bit more with the Everclear. Both of them worked really good, but I didn't see any advantage to using the Everclear over the denatured alcohol. So, but I put 4 coats, 5 coats, and it's hard to say how many coats because you got a pad and you're just kind of putting it on like this, So I did it twice. I did it one time with the Everclear, and I did it one time with the denatured alcohol. And I'm just putting coats on like this and rubbing it in. So, how many coats was that? I don't know. But I will say this, is the shellac just worked a whole lot better for me than the oil finish did. Man, it just went on. It's shiny. It looks like a finish, and it doesn't stick. And, it just works really good for my hands. I like the way it feels, and it just gets better the more you do it. You can get the oil on your hands, and natural oil. You can sit here and rub it like this, and it just makes it smoother and smoother and smoother as you go. Now, I am just a big fan of shellac on the back of finishes, and I have been, but part of the process of shaving this neck was to go back and play with things some more. So as far as the neck feel goes, it's just awesome. It feels to me like a vintage neck ought to feel. It's still fat. It definitely is fat up in here. It's actually the same thickness as the 1944 double aught. I went back and I remeasured again, and it's just great. The taper is even. If I can remember, I'll throw the chart up here. I'll show you the before, I'll show you the after, and I'll show you versus the 44 and 39, so you can see that it fits into the grouping. It fits into the grouping of vintage necks, including the 39 D18. This taper is awesome. It's not a thin neck. It still is definitely a nice chunky neck. The V has just made all the difference in the world for me. My thumb just sits here like this on that V, and it is just so comfortable now. When I played this at the beginning of the video, that was the first time I played the guitar all day long. I picked it up off the wall, I sat down here and I played, and to be immediately comfortable like that is what you want out of a guitar. Alright, so I also lowered the action again, like I talked about in one of the other videos. I said I just done a sloppy lowering the first time. Well, I went back in and I measured, I dropped the saddle down. I have not got much saddle left. This is what I've got. But the funny thing is, it's almost exactly the same as the 41 Authentic that's sitting back here in the corner. And that one's been like that for about 2 or 3 years now. I mean, since I owned it. The owner of that guitar sent it to me for a neck reset, and then hit some financial difficulties, and I ended up buying the guitar from him. I never reset the neck on it. And everybody loves the sound of that guitar. We're going to play it here in a minute. Everybody loves the sound of that guitar. And so I just sit here wondering whether or not I really need to reset the neck on this. I'm sure I will eventually, but I'm going to let it settle for a little while. It's only a 22. So maybe next year, before I get too old to do this stuff, I will go ahead and reset the neck on this. And if I ever do sell it, then it will have a fresh neck reset, because I wouldn't want to sell it with this low of a saddle. It's going to need a neck reset, but it's got enough saddle, and it sounds good, and it plays good, and so, I'm just not in a huge hurry to do this. When I lowered the action on it and got it where I wanted, man, I made the guitar, between that and the reshaped neck, this guitar just became so much more playable to me. It went from being, I really don't like playing this guitar, and I'm doing it because I own it and it sounds good and I ought to try to do it. It went from that to like, this thing's awesome. It is comfortable, it sounds great, it's easy to play, and it went from, I really don't want to do this, to I pull this guitar off the wall and play it. So to me, that was the whole purpose of doing the thing. So I would call the thing a success. Swing chords fit good. I sat down the other day and I was just playing the guitar, and it was very reactive. When you see something like that, where I'm doing a stretch with that finger in order to pull it, was very difficult on the stock neck because it was so fat. I didn't have enough room in my fingers. And on this one, it's just really comfortable. I do that instinctively and reactively. I make multiple fret things. And I mentioned that when I was playing. And I said, oh, look at that. I just instinctively reached out with my pinky like that. And I couldn't do that before. So, it was a good deal. And the neck looked great. I'm sitting here looking at it, and it looks like a vintage neck. But the color's right. The slightly worn-looking finish is just right. And so it's awesome. So a lot of people would say, well, why don't you just, if you like the D18 Golden Era, the GE neck, why don't you just go buy a really good GE? Well, because for one thing, we wouldn't have learned anything about neck shaving. For another thing, I don't have the time and the money and the effort to go out there and find a really, really good GE. I've worked on a bunch of GEs over the years, decades, and I have never found a GE, as much as I love them. I really love D18 GEs, but I've never found one that just has what the authentic has. I mean, there is something to the authentic build with hide glue, tucked braces, T-bar truss rod. There is just something to all of that comes into the authentic. There really is. The tops are thinner. I swear the tops are thinner. I've not gotten to measure GE, but my feeling is that the GE has a slightly thicker top. I just cannot get the, that kind of sound out of a GE, as much as I love them. And the other thing is a lot of the value of an authentic is the fact that it is pretty close to an actual 1937. They did a pretty good job of, getting the details right. There's a few details that are wrong, but on the whole, the bracing on the inside is pretty good. So these always show to me, every single guitar that's on this wall here is a model. I don't need any of these guitars. I have two Prues, and my Pru OMD is the number one guitar, and my other Pru OMD is number 2. And that's it, If I had to leave this house with one guitar, it would, without question, not even thinking about it, it would be my number 1 OMD over there. So these guitars are models to me. And in that respect, the authentic is a more valuable model than the GE. So I would love to have a GE, but it would only be for a model, you see. It'd only be as a model as compared to this one. So the authentic is a little bit more valuable to be as a model. It's got the unfinished neck right here, you know, for one thing. That's interesting. And so there's things to learn about from this guitar that the GE does not quite offer. That's really a lot of the purpose of this guitar. So, all right, I'm very happy with the neck shaving. Bottom line, I'm happy with it. Made the guitar a lot better for me. It'll make it better for someone else. I guarantee you wrap your hands around this neck and you're going to go, yeah. That's the way it ought to feel. I guarantee it. So I'm going to play a little bit of these. We haven't heard from a couple of these guitars in quite a while. So if you don't want to hear the playing, you can cut out right now. So anyway, no, I'm not warmed up. I'm thinking of songs to play. That's a good one to get going on. Let's try this one. Pretty good. You sure me about being reactive here? I am not warmed up. I have not played Cattle and the King. I just was thinking as I was finishing it, I switched to Summertime, you know. And the guitar worked with me. And previously, man, it was fighting me every inch of the way. And so I was able to sit here and just play on the fly. So to me, that guitar is just so much better now. Everything I pulled off worked pretty good, you know, until I forgot what I was playing. But that's my fault, not the guitar's fault. I got lost. I was listening to the guitar. I got lost. Where am I on this song? You know, that happened to me once at a contest in Winfield, and I'm on stage at Winfield. I was playing Crazy Creek, and for the contest. And I was just so relaxed and so calm. And I'm in the middle of this thing going, what song am I playing? I think I was in the key of A. So I just worked around in A for a second. Like, oh, Crazy Creek. And then I got back on it, you know. But you can definitely be a little too relaxed sometimes. living in the moment. And I forgot what song I was on. And, I don't have a rhythm player. I had a rhythm player, but it's not like we're in a jam where the song was just played, and I'm only taking one break. I'm maybe 3 breaks deep in this thing. Completely forgot. It was funny to me, but I pulled it off. My rhythm guitar player didn't even notice, so that was interesting. All right, so gosh, just yeah, this guitar is so good now. It's really comfortable. It's fun to play. I enjoy playing it now, and so it's just good. I like this guitar. I love the bear claw top. I've really always I get customers' guitars and they have bear claws, and I am bear claw envy. That and sunburst, I don't know. Sunburst and bear claw might push me over the edge, But I do love the bear claw on this top, and I'm happy with this guitar. I'm glad it is now a contributing member to the guitar community. Let's see what the CS-BG-16 sounds like. Let's see how Cattle and the King works on this one. It's definitely slim neck, but it's cool. It's interesting. I feel like I'm struggling a little bit on this one than I was on the 18. Yeah, I'm definitely just a little, It's just not quite as slinky as I'm sure great, but it's just taking me a minute. I'm gonna switch picks because I feel like that pick's fighting me a little bit for some reason. And also, this guitar is so much bassier and deeper. Coming off of that 18, I like treble, and I like guitars that scream, and this one is much bassier. So I'm going to switch picks here and see if I react a little bit better to it. Yeah, that's a little bit better. I like the little bit of a thinner pick on this guitar. It's just the way my hands feel today. It's early in the morning. I just had my coffee. I'm getting a little bit of jittery. I need to go eat some food. So this pick was a little bit lighter. Worked with me just a little bit better. This guitar is good too. I still like this guitar a lot. I like the neck on this. With that MLO neck, very smooth taper. But it did take me just a second to adapt to it. Yeah. Nice, yeah. It's that's just noodling. Noodle's good. I reset the neck on this before I bought it for the current owner, for the previous owner. The saddle came up just a little bit lower than I wanted, but this is an example of a saddle. I would consider the saddle almost perfect right now, and this is what it looks like. And that is about 120 thousandths of an inch. It's a little lower on the bass side than it is on the treble because of the way this bridge is shaped. But that saddle is great for this guitar. And so, I don't know. I'm kind of rethinking the whole tall saddle thing. All right. This is the D18 41 Authentic Madagascar Rosewood. This has a 1 11/16 inch neck and 2 1/8 bridge spacing. And so coming off of both of these guitars, which are 1 3/4, it's interesting. It's been on the wall for about a week. Let's see how good in tune it is. I mean, not bad, I like to hear that because that to me is a stable guitar. So it's a little sharp. That was good. The humidity's going up. It's been raining a couple of days here. Good. Yeah, not bad for hanging on the wall for a week. I like to see that. Like I said, it's a stable guitar. Humidity's gone up a little bit, but it's still 37% in here right now. But last night it was about 80 outside. So, I like hanging the guitars because I think acoustic guitars sound better if they are allowed to experience humidity changes. They need to live and breathe. So, 1 11/16 inch neck. The taper on this guitar is good. I have the specs on this. If this was 10 thousandths of an inch fatter from the 3rd fret back, it would be almost the perfect 1 11/16 inch neck. It's a decent neck, but it is skinny up here. It's one of the skinniest Martin necks I've measured. Second or third skinniest. The 1937 D28 Authentic is actually thinner than this and twice as fat up here. That 37 has got an incredible taper. Actually worse than this one was. So, but this neck is tolerable, So how is it coming off of those wide necks under this thing? It's skitty, man. I feel like I'm playing mandolin. But interesting. I thought, well, I'm going to compare it to the Telecaster here. Blonde Telecaster back here, which is a 52 reissue. It's a 52 copy that I built. How does it compare to the Telecaster? It's interesting. The Telecaster's fatter on the first 3 frets. It's actually fatter first 3 frets, and then this one has more taper up here. So this has a bigger taper, but they're not too far off. You know, it's not dramatically off. I thought to myself, I said, I bet that Tele is fatter in the first couple of frets, just from feeling. This has more V to it, no question. Telecaster's got a little bit more of a rounded shape to it. I love the V. Not so much on the Telecaster because it's a different playing thing. I do get my thumb down. I use bar chords a little bit more. These things. And the V is not comfortable for that kind of thing. That's one place where the V falls short. I used to have a Jimmy Vaughn Stratocaster, Jimmy Vaughn Strat, and it has a 50 style V-neck to it. Not that, I'm going to love this. I couldn't stand it. It was awesome for swing chords, but that's the kind of thing I do in acoustic. I'm doing swing chords, and the V is great. But when I had to go down and do a shuffle, man, that V, no. So I do actually like a little bit more of a C shape there. It's kind of tricky. I like a V with a flat back on it, Anyway, the 52 Telecaster back there is actually fatter up here in the first 3 frets, and I thought I felt that. And it's about 10,000ths of an inch. So anyway, coming on to this guitar. Let's see how I do with Catalina Cane on this one. First thing I noticed is that I started playing it faster because I've been playing the song 3 times now. And it's like, okay, I remember the song. And I make mistakes on it because I'm going faster. I haven't got used to the neck yet. This neck is not as forgiving. It's tighter spacing, and it's not as forgiving as the bigger necks, which is why I like bigger necks. But it's got its purposes, so... Yeah, it's definitely going to take a minute to get used to. Sounds great, though. I mean, this is awesome sounding guitar. It's got such good balance. It's not as boomy as that 16, and it's not quite as bright as the 18. And this is probably the best sounding guitar of these 3 because of that balance and the openness. And it's a nice sounding guitar. How's it doing on the swing chords? It's almost like a mandolin. I can get across the strings just a little bit faster over here. It definitely reminds me of the mandolin. Is choppy. It's easy to get the full chord chop. Your hand goes across the strings just that little extra little bit, It's not bad. It's not bad on that. You know, once you get used to it, you know, again, it's like coming off. It's like playing on the Telecaster. It's got that same width to it, that same tightness and stuff. It's got bigger strings on it than the Tele, and so that makes it feel just a little bit more cramped. Smaller diameter strings on the Telecasters give you a little bit more room in between the strings. So, you know, it's basically taking all these strings and shifting them up for 46, 36, 26, and then another one. And you get the extra 5/1000ths of an inch room in between the strings, which I've discovered is really a lot of what the spacing is about, is the room in between the strings to do things. So this is not a bad guitar to play once I get used to the skinnier neck again. And like I said, I do like it for the swing chords. It's really comfortable to grab that in your hand rather than spreading out. But it's a little bit trickier on this kind of picking. I'm not as free with the right hand. Until I get used to it. And it's pretty good. I really like the sound of this guitar though. It's really comfortable to play. It's also light. It's way lighter than the BG-16 with the Guatemalan rosewood. It's probably about the same as the authentic, but I notice when I pick it up and read it, it's light. It feels good. Feels good. It's a real good guitar. I've thought a lot about selling this, and I keep thinking, nah, you know, there's no more 41 authentics, and there's not much more Madagascar rosewood. And if my son continues to play guitar, in 30 years, he's going to be really glad I held on to this guitar. You know, you know, what if you would have bought an actual 1941 D28? You'd be glad your granddad kept it. It's a good sounding guitar. Let's give it something else. Here we go. Let's get out of here.